What if entertainment starting as a succubus, taking Hollywood by storm? Martin was a succubus who perished at the hands of the sun god, struck down by a single divine arrow during the epic war between gods and demons. Meanwhile, Martin, a Ph.D. in literature and a seasoned movie enthusiast, lost his life in a car accident in August 2023. By some cosmic twist of fate, the souls of the two Martins converged within the chaotic currents of time and space, merging and eventually settling in the body of an 11-year-old boy named Martin Myers, living in Los Angeles in 1996. A world without spiritual energy? Fortunately, as a succubus, I don't need spiritual energy to cultivate. All I need is the essence of desire. Emotions, joy, anger, sorrow, and excitement, are all desires. As long as these emotions are directed at me, they can become fuel for my growth. Alright, let's see what reliable ways exist in this world to stir people's emotions en masse. Becoming a writer sounds promising, and music, that could work too. But wow, Hollywood movies. They have a global reach. This is perfect. What's that term again? Right, hack writer. I'll start with writing, but the ultimate goal is to become an international movie star. Acting skills, you say? Don't worry. I'm a succubus, after all. Chapter 5. The Negotiation and the Secret Script, Mr. Benjamin. That's the full story behind my creative process. I hope this clears up any doubts you might have, Martin said with a confident smile. Benjamin was momentarily stunned, then chuckled. Martin, you're truly remarkable. It's impossible to see you as just a regular kid. I'm now absolutely certain that you're the genuine creator of Kung Fu Panda. Any lingering doubt Benjamin might have felt disappeared entirely as he watched the young boy speak with such confidence and insight. He continued, so, when it comes to negotiating the copyright terms, will you be handling this personally, or would you prefer Mr. Grant or Mrs. Linda to represent you? Martin stretched lazily, and in an instant, his mature demeanor faded as his youthful playfulness returned. I'll leave that to my dad. I'm just a kid, after all. Sheena couldn't help but laugh, and soon Benjamin, Linda, and Grant joined in. With that, Grant and Benjamin moved into the negotiation phase, with Sheena taking notes. Linda took Martin to the cozy sitting area in the back garden to relax. Just as they were leaving, Martin called back, Dad, don't forget to mention to Mr. Georgia that my age is a great marketing angle. People are bound to be curious about what an 11-year-old author can create. That, too, is a bargaining chip. Grant and Benjamin exchanged surprised glances. In the back sitting area, Linda couldn't help but ask, Martin, how did you get so familiar with Asian culture? I don't remember hiring a tutor for that. As a child from an elite family, Martin had a full roster of private tutors for music, painting, languages, Latin and French, etiquette, and horseback riding, among others. Although he used to resent these lessons, Martin now eagerly embraced them. Demons like Martin were naturally gifted in arts, language, and all things ceremonial, so these once dreaded lessons had become invaluable to him. Not only did he study diligently with his tutors, but he also started self-studying, keeping his schedule packed. Despite this, he still made time for physical training. Every demon is a fitness enthusiast, as a well-toned body only amplifies their powers of charm and allure. And how did Martin manage to fit it all in? He learned exceptionally fast. Especially in arts like music and painting, his tutors were continually astonished by his progress, thinking he'd suddenly found his calling. Back to Linda's question, Martin was prepared with an answer. Well, Mom, my math teacher is Asian, and I've borrowed many books on Asian culture from him. I've even learned a little bit of the language. Listen to this, Ni hao, Xie Xie, Bu Chi, Kai La Ma, Zai Jian. Hello, thank you, you're welcome. Have you eaten? Goodbye. Linda, delighted, tousled Martin's hair. I didn't understand a word, but my son is amazing. No, Mom, you'll mess up my hair. Linda laughed. Oh, our little Martin's growing up, getting concerned about his looks. Don't worry, you inherited your mom's good looks. You can pull off any hairstyle. No, Mom, I'm a guy. It's called handsome. Linda chuckled. All right then, handsome it is. Martin knew just how to make his mother smile, and in their warm conversation, the time flew by. The negotiation between Grant and Benjamin went smoothly. They settled on a deal to release Kung Fu Panda a week before Thanksgiving, with an initial print run of 200,000 copies at a price of $15 each and a 10% royalty rate. a rate usually reserved for well-known authors. In the American publishing industry, royalties for new authors could be as low as 3%, with typical rates falling between 5% and 9%. According to Grant, Martin's final remark about his age as a marketing angle had been very persuasive. Benjamin clearly saw the potential in promoting Martin as a young prodigy author to boost sales. A quick calculation showed that if all 200,000 copies sold, it would generate $3 million in revenue, with Martin's pre-tax share at $300,000. Of course, taxes would take a significant chunk. The land of taxes lives up to its name, but Grant, with his financial expertise, knew just the strategies to reduce the tax burden. On the drive back, Benjamin sighed, "Unbelievable. Really unbelievable. I've never seen a child like that. Someone who's both innocent and sharp, who has a child's purity but also an adult's shrewdness. He's truly unique. I thought today would be interesting, but it was far beyond that." Meeting him was an extraordinary experience. Sheena, however, was marveling at something different. "Oh my, Benjamin, did you notice how handsome he is? There's something captivating about him, especially those bright blue eyes. It's like looking at a young Paul Newman." Benjamin grinned at her enthusiasm. "He certainly has a star quality about him. This kid belongs in the spotlight." Back at the Myers house, Grant popped open a bottle of champagne. "To our little Martin. May his new book be a hit." Linda pulled Martin into her arms, showering his face with kisses. "Hey, Mom, you're going to scare me." Martin wriggled, trying to dodge his mother's attack, but he couldn't escape her enthusiastic affection. Linda laughed. "No, my dear, you scared me. I never dreamed my son would be a child prodigy." All right, can you two calm down for a second?" Grant interjected. "Martin, I have something to ask you." Martin seized the chance to escape from his mother, practically running to Grant's side. "What is it, Dad?" "Martin, you once said you'd written a few things. Clearly, Kung Fu Panda isn't the only one. So, tell me, what else have you been up to?" Martin hesitated, feigning embarrassment, then lowered his voice. "Actually, Dad, I also wrote a screenplay and sent it to Aunt Nancy." Nancy Myers, Grant's younger sister, Martin's aunt, and a well-known Hollywood producer, director, and screenwriter. "What? A screenplay?" Chapter 6, The Screenplay Surprise. Grant had only intended to playfully scare his son, but he was taken aback to find that Martin truly had been up to something else behind his back. "Did you say you wrote a screenplay and sent it to your Aunt Nancy?" "Yes, Dad. By now, she should have received it and might even be reading it right now." Martin grinned mischievously. Meanwhile, in a cozy villa, Nancy Myers opened the thick envelope her nephew had sent, wondering what on earth little Martin had mailed her. The Parent Trap? A screenplay? Nancy's eyes widened as she saw the title and author, Martin Myers. Did this kid actually write a screenplay? For a moment, Nancy thought it might be a prank, something filled with childish nonsense. But as she turned the first page, she realized it was indeed a complete screenplay, complete with illustrated storyboards, drawn with surprising skill and professionalism. In no time, she found herself captivated by the story. The screenplay told the tale of a married couple who separated due to a misunderstanding. They had twin sons, with Mike growing up with his father in California and Beck living with his mother in London. 11 years later, by sheer coincidence, each parent decided to send their son to the same summer camp. During an activity at a camp in Maine, 11-year-old Mike Parker encountered Beck James. Despite their uncanny resemblance, they were sworn enemies at first. Mike found Beck irritating, and Beck felt the same about Mike. But they shared a few quirks. Both were allergic to strawberries, skilled at card games, and masters of pranks. While bickering, they each mentioned their single parents, a father for Mike, a mother for Beck, and began to realize there was more to their connection. After comparing family photos, they put together torn halves to create a full picture, and the shocking truth hit them. They were long-lost twin brothers. Nancy was completely absorbed. The heartwarming, romantic story touched her deeply. Of course, it would. Martin had chosen to copy this screenplay for Nancy because she had actually written it herself in 1997. No wonder it resonated with her. She was essentially reliving her own work. Note: the original screenplay was adapted from German writer Erich Kästner's Lottie and Lisa. For the story's purpose here, we'll treat it as Martin's original creation. Martin had thought of adapting The Parent Trap partly because of his Aunt Nancy and partly due to his friend, Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay had starred in the original The Parent Trap movie, which launched her Hollywood career as a child star in 1998. In the original, the twins were girls, with Lindsay brilliantly playing both roles, showcasing acting skills far beyond her years. However, Martin, even with Lindsay as a good friend and admirer, didn't hesitate to make the main characters twin boys. He had his reasons. He saw this movie as his springboard into stardom. Ring, ring. Hello, Myers residence. Who's calling? Oh, Ms. Nancy. Are you looking for Mr. Grant? One moment, please. Hello, Nancy. Grant, did you know that little Martin sent me a screenplay? Yes, I just found out. You did? Well, it doesn't surprise me. But the screenplay is fantastic. Be honest, did he have help, or? No, Nancy. I assure you, no ghostwriters, no help from anyone. Martin wrote this completely on his own. My goodness, it's true. Martin is simply extraordinary. He's only 11, and he wrote this? Indeed. You're not the first to say that today. And actually, Martin also wrote a children's book. Random House is already preparing to publish it. My word, Grant, you're the luckiest man alive, having a son who's a prodigy. Put Martin on the phone. I need to talk to him right away. Sorry, Nancy, we're just heading out for dinner. How about tomorrow? Tomorrow? Fine. I'll call him tomorrow. No, wait. I'll come over tomorrow. It's the weekend, so make sure Martin's home. Late that night, it was almost midnight, but Linda couldn't sleep. Grant, are you awake? Yes. I can't fall asleep. Neither can I. Grant, do you think our little Martin is really a prodigy? The events of the day felt so surreal that, now that Linda had time to process, she found herself both thrilled and anxious. Don't worry, Linda. Martin's a genius, at least in writing. The fact that both Benjamin and Nancy are in awe of his work proves it, doesn't it? I know, it's just so hard to believe, like I'm dreaming. I actually gave birth to a little prodigy. Linda broke into a proud smile. No, we gave birth to a little prodigy, Grant emphasized. The next morning, true to her word, Nancy arrived bright and early. The moment she stepped inside, she wrapped Martin in a bear hug, ruffling his hair affectionately until his fair face turned pink. Not from blushing, he could hardly breathe. Aunt Nancy, maybe we could discuss the screenplay instead? Martin, who had held his own in front of Benjamin, was completely at a loss under his aunt's smothering embrace. Don't worry about the details. I'll talk those over with Grant. I just want to ask you one thing. Would you like to star in this movie? You do, don't you? The 11-year-old twin brothers, they're meant for you, right? Martin, do you want to be a star? In that case, let's just say you're giving me the screenplay rights for free, and I'll negotiate a good actor's fee for you with the studio. Martin was stunned. Wait, this is my Aunt Nancy? You've said everything already. What am I supposed to say? Unable to hold back, he muttered, Aunt Nancy, do you know what an iron rooster is? Before Nancy could respond, Martin imitated her quick tone and explained, it's an Asian expression. It means, someone who doesn't give up a single feather, basically describing a miser, a Scrooge, a true penny pincher. So, I give you the screenplay rights for free, the studio pays me an acting fee, and meanwhile, you get both producer and director credits, meaning you're double dipping. Nancy looked at Martin in surprise. How could this little guy connect all these dots from a single comment? She glanced at Grant, who gave her a proud, knowing look, as if to say, yep, that's my son, sharp as a tack. Chapter 7. The Disney Deal. Nancy froze for a second, then, with a smirk, pinched Martin's cheeks, tugging them gently. You little rascal, what did you just say? Martin looked over at his mom for help, but Linda only laughed, clearly amused and making no effort to rescue him from his aunt's grasp. Oh, my dearest Aunt Nancy, I said I'm more than willing to give you the rights to this screenplay for free. I'm also thrilled to play the twin roles myself. And, of course, I'll happily be the bargaining chip to help you negotiate with Disney for the producer and director roles. Because you're my absolute favorite Aunt Nancy. That's better. Nancy released him, but then she paused, eyebrows raised. Hold on. How did you know I wanted to pitch this to Disney? Martin rubbed his cheeks with a grin. That's easy to guess. Disney's the best at producing family-friendly movies, and you have an established relationship with their Touchstone Pictures division. You know some of Disney's higher-ups quite well. Considering all that, if you weren't planning to take this script to Disney, I'd have to seriously question your professional judgment." Nancy couldn't help but burst out laughing. "Where did you learn all this?" She glanced over at Grant, who just shrugged. "Don't look at me, I didn't teach him any of it." "Well, you're right on target, Martin. Disney is exactly where I'm headed. In fact, I've already sent a copy of the screenplay to their script review office, along with my recommendation. Of course, with Nancy's endorsement, it's bound to pass the review in no time," Martin said, not missing a beat as he lightly patted her shoulder, mimicking his father's casual shrug with an air of innocence and charm. Nancy's eyes sparkled. That gesture, she thought, would be perfect for the movie. "Oh, and one more thing, Aunt Nancy. Don't you think an 11-year-old who wrote his own screenplay is a great publicity hook? Plus, we could tie the film's release to my upcoming book launch. Imagine the impact if both the movie and the book were revealed simultaneously. I think we could even work with Random House to keep my age a secret until just before the premiere. A dual launch would create a 1 + 1 is greater than 2 effect." Nancy left that day filled with satisfaction, and a touch of awe. Martin had given her so many surprises that she felt almost overwhelmed. Who would have thought Grant and Linda's mischievous little boy had grown into such a sharp, mature young man? As Nancy reviewed the details of The Parent Trap for production, her admiration grew. Martin's storyboards, carefully illustrated, gave a clear vision of each scene and were a filmmaker's dream. This must be Linda's influence, she thought, remembering that her sister-in-law taught film studies. Having such a visual outline would allow the movie to come together quickly. And Martin's promotional ideas? Practical, compelling, and already showing the potential to turn the film into a major success. Nancy's professional excitement grew. "I need to go to Disney in person tomorrow and make sure this project gets greenlit." The next morning, Nancy reviewed her documents one last time in the elevator, ensuring everything was in order. When the doors opened, she stepped out to find a tall, blond man in his 30s waiting for her at reception. He waved, smiling warmly. "Good morning, Nancy." "Good morning, George." The man was George Brown, president of Touchstone Pictures and one of Nancy's close friends. "Come on, let's head to the conference room. Eisner will be here shortly." At precisely 10 o'clock a.m., the conference room door opened, and Michael Eisner, the CEO and chairman of Disney Entertainment, strode in. Tall and dignified, Eisner commanded attention with his presence. "Nancy, long time no see, how have you been?" Nancy greeted him with a professional smile. "Quite well, thank you. Glad to hear it. Let's get started. George, why don't you begin? You've reviewed the screenplay, correct?" George cleared his throat, exchanging a glance with Nancy before speaking. "Mr. Eisner, our team at Touchstone has thoroughly reviewed the screenplay, and we're all in agreement. We believe this is a strong investment that aligns perfectly with Disney's brand. The story's themes, family, children, comedy, and a heartwarming ending, are exactly what our audience loves. This film is an ideal match for Disney." George handed Eisner a document. "Here's my report, with a detailed analysis of the film's potential." Eisner took the report but didn't immediately open it. Instead, he gestured toward Nancy. "Nancy, your thoughts?" "Mr. Eisner, George has covered the main points. I'd like to share some ideas on how we could market this film." Nancy paused to make her point clear. "What you may not know is that this screenplay was written by my nephew, who's only 11 years old." Eisner's eyes lit up with interest. "Can you guarantee he wrote it himself?" Nancy nodded with confidence. "I give you my word." She continued, "And he didn't just write this screenplay, he's also written a children's book, which Random House is set to publish in 2 months. I think this movie could benefit from a joint marketing campaign with Random House. Imagine the publicity. An 11-year-old prodigy with a published book and a Disney screenplay. It's a unique angle that I'm sure will intrigue parents and families alike, drawing them into theaters. Additionally, my nephew could even play the role of the twins in the movie. It's rare to find an opportunity like this. Young author stars in his own film, a fantastic marketing point." Nancy spoke with enthusiasm, and Eisner listened thoughtfully, nodding as he took in her vision. When she finished, Eisner raised an eyebrow and asked, "Your nephew, would he be Grant's son?" Nancy nodded. "Yes. I think his name is Martin, right? I met him at a party once. Very handsome young man, but are you sure Grant would allow his son to become an actor?" Nancy smiled. "Leave that to me. If I can take on the roles of producer and director, I'll handle getting Grant on board. Producer is fine. I trust your capabilities. But director? Nancy, you're still a newcomer to directing. Grant's prepared to fund half of the film's production. Then that settles it. One more thing, Mr. Eisner, Nancy added, regarding my nephew's acting fee, I'd like. When the meeting concluded, both Michael Eisner and Nancy Myers left feeling completely satisfied with their plans. Chapter 8. The Final Preparations. What? I get 5% of the box office? Martin was stunned. Aunt Nancy, are you joking? Do newcomers usually get this kind of deal? Nancy burst into laughter, clutching her sides as she recovered from Martin's reaction. You can thank your dad's investment, and your Aunt Nancy's negotiation skills. Not to mention, Mr. Eisner believes in you. But keep in mind, this is a one-time exception. If you continue in this industry, remember you're still a newcomer. Don't get ahead of yourself. I understand. Martin nodded earnestly, but he couldn't help asking one more question. Are you sure it's a box office share and not a profit share? In Hollywood, the difference between a box office share and a profit share is huge. Profit shares are notoriously tricky, with studios often using creative accounting to show losses on major films. Can you believe even Harry Potter was claimed as unprofitable? But box office shares were a safer bet. Relax, I've got it covered. And remember, your dad isn't just any outsider investor. He's experienced. He even invested in Jurassic Park back in the day. Then I feel totally secure, Martin grinned, doing some mental calculations. In the original timeline, The Parent Trap grossed around $92 million with a budget of $15 million. If he got 5% of that, he'd be looking at around $6 million, a huge sum, especially in the 1990s. And he was confident that, with himself starring in the film, it would do even better. That's the demon charm talking. November arrived quietly, and Kung Fu Panda hit the shelves. Random House decided to hold back on revealing Martin's identity as the author. They planned a joint marketing campaign with Disney, set to begin in June, 1 month before the movie's July release. When the time came, both companies would simultaneously promote Martin as a prodigy writer to generate massive public intrigue. At school, Martin's friends were gathered around him as he said his goodbyes before heading off to join the movie set. Lindsay Lohan and Mark Zuckerberg stood beside him, with their towering classmate John, the former school bully, standing guard behind Martin like a personal bodyguard. Lindsay Lohan, Martin, I'm so jealous. You're off to be a movie star. I wish I could act in a movie, too. Mark Zuckerberg, Martin, you're really going to be in a movie. This is amazing. My best friend's going to be a star. Oh, hey, can I get your autograph first? Lindsay Lohan, and mine too. The two eagerly pulled out brand new copies of Kung Fu Panda from their backpacks. John glanced at the three, scoffing to himself. Ha, so childish, all three of them. But inwardly, he was thrilled. With Martin gone, I can be the big boss again. John, what are you thinking about? Martin's voice snapped him out of his thoughts. I'm here. John immediately straightened up, looking almost soldier-like. His obedience had become a reflex around Martin. John, while I'm away, you're not allowed to bully anyone, got it? Right, no bullying. And if someone else is getting bullied, you need to stand up for them. Right, stand up. Remember, you're not some villain who picks on the weak. You're supposed to be a hero. Right, a hero. For some reason, every time John looked into Martin's bright blue eyes, a sense of loyalty surged within him, washing away any mischievous thoughts. Martin smiled, nodding in satisfaction at John's eager obedience. For a demon like Martin, persuading someone was never difficult. Meanwhile, at J.P. Morgan's investment office, Grant and Nancy were having a sibling conversation, one seated and the other standing. Nancy, when is filming set to start? I hope you can keep the schedule tight. I don't want Martin missing too much school. Grant sipped his wine and looked at Nancy expectantly. I'll make sure he has a tutor on set. His schoolwork won't suffer too much. But honestly, Grant, I never thought you'd let him go into acting. Hollywood's the most chaotic place on earth when it comes to fame and fortune. Grant set his glass down and replied with a smile, Martin's a lot like you know. Dad was dead set against you entering the film industry, but you stubbornly charged right in, didn't you? Remember how furious he was back then? What was it he used to say? We're a family of financiers. Grant and Nancy shouted in unison, both breaking into laughter. If I hadn't softened him up over the years, you two would probably still be feuding. HMPH, like I care. That old man was always so stubborn. Nancy rolled her eyes, recalling her father's rigid, overbearing attitude that still frustrated her to this day. Grant shrugged with a chuckle. That's exactly why I don't want to be a rigid, overbearing father. If little Martin wants to try his hand at being a star, let him. Plus, he's a boy. He'll have it easier than a girl would. This industry is full of people who play for both teams, you know, Nancy reminded him. HMPH. With me backing him, I'd like to see anyone try to mess with him. As J.P. Morgan's head of investment banking, Grant wielded a powerful network of connections. He held the purse strings of countless wealthy clients. All right. Martin's not just your son, he's my nephew, too. I'll make sure no lowlifes get close to him. Perfect, Nancy. I'm entrusting Martin to you. Now, let's discuss the investment. How much do you need? At least $7. $5 million. I estimate the total budget for the film will be around $15 million, and Disney's only willing to cover half. Plus, they insist on handling distribution. Those greedy hyenas. Hey, Grant, you're not backing out now, are you? Nancy raised an eyebrow, looking ready to argue. Of course not. For my dear sister, and my dear son, I'll gladly invest $7. $5 million, Grant said, spreading his hands. Just keep an eye on that money, Nancy. It's not a lot, but I don't like being swindled. I have no interest in becoming one of those fools who throw cash at Hollywood for nothing. Relax. As the producer, I'll keep the budget under control. By the way, Random House only gave us 8 months. That means we have to release the movie by next summer. If we miss the deadline, they'll move forward on their own. Time's tight. When can Martin start filming? Are the preparations complete? Absolutely. Then tomorrow. Martin already took a day off to say goodbye to his friends. Good. Tomorrow it is. Chapter 9. Welcome to Hollywood. Bye, Dad. Bye, Mom. Martin waved energetically as he stepped into Nancy's car, leaving his family behind. Excited? Nancy asked, glancing over with a smile. Does it feel like a weight has been lifted? A little, Martin admitted, but I'm also a bit sad. Oh, don't worry, it's just because this is your first time leaving home. You'll get used to it soon. No, Aunt Nancy, you misunderstood. I'm mostly sad that I won't get to eat Aranda's cooking for a while. Nancy burst into laughter. All right, little guy, you got me. I underestimated you. After they'd shared a laugh, Nancy's tone turned serious. Martin, I need to warn you. Hollywood isn't all glamour and lights. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of drugs, drinking, reckless behavior, and some not-so-innocent manipulation. Martin listened intently, then responded with a thoughtful smile. I get it, Aunt Nancy. Underneath the roses, there are always thorns. Hollywood's shiny facade hides plenty of grime because, at the end of the day, it's a place where desires collide. And I like it, he thought privately. The more chaotic and full of desire, the better. It's exactly the kind of place a demon like me thrives in. Nancy glanced at him, surprised that he seemed so mature. This kid really is an old soul, she thought, taken aback. Well, since you know the risks, don't be surprised if I'm extra strict with you, she warned. I won't. I know you're looking out for me. Nancy nodded, thinking that Martin was definitely more mature than her 2 daughters, who seemed consumed with crushes and fashion choices. Grant really was lucky to have such a sensible son. They drove in silence for a while, but instead of heading directly to the set, Nancy took him to her Hollywood office. All right, have a seat. Want something to drink? She asked. Do you have any wine? I'd like to try some. Nice try. It's milk or juice, kiddo. All right, juice it is, he grinned. Relax, Aunt Nancy. I was just kidding. HMPH. Noted. If I don't like what I see on set, I'll tell your dad. Okay, I'll behave, Martin laughed, holding up his hands in mock surrender. Nancy poured him a glass of juice, then pulled a folder from her desk drawer. Here's your script contract and your acting contract. Your dad signed them, but this copy is for Disney. Want to take a look? I bet your dad didn't let you see it. Of course I do. Dad still treats me like a little kid. Here, but be careful. Don't spill juice on it. Got it. Martin eagerly took the contracts, reading each page closely. His script contract gave Nancy free rein over the screenplay rights, which she'd used as leverage in her negotiations with Disney. His acting contract, though, included a $100,000 salary plus 5% of the box office, which was the part Martin was most satisfied with. "Oh, Aunt Nancy, is it true I'll need a tutor on set? Thinking of ditching your studies? Just hoping for a break once in a while. You know I've always been an A student, and I'm already ahead of my grade, working on 9th grade material." Nancy nodded, aware that Martin's academic progress had been remarkable lately, almost as if he'd had a sudden surge of intelligence. Not only had he completed his current grade early, but he'd also begun tackling high school coursework on his own. She eyed him seriously. "Nope, even if I wanted to give you a break, child labor laws wouldn't allow it. Inspectors from the Child Actors Guild will be checking in on set, and we don't want any fines." "All right," Martin sighed, shrugging. He then changed the subject. "Aunt Nancy, who did you cast to play my parents?" "We got Dennis Quaid for the father," she replied. "As for the mother, we wanted Julia Roberts, but her fee was outrageous, so we went with Natasha Richardson. She's talented and much more affordable." "And for the other woman, trying to steal my dad?" Martin asked, grinning. "We cast Elaine Hendricks. She's got that seductive look and experience playing the other woman type of roles, so she's perfect." "Good casting, Aunt Nancy." Martin nodded. "Don't worry, I won't let you down. Oh, and Martin," Nancy added, "you'll need a good agent to navigate this industry. Your parents and I will help you find someone trustworthy." "Sounds good to me," Martin said confidently. By December, Los Angeles had shifted into a mild winter. People swapped t-shirts and shorts for long sleeves, but even in December, California's winter was hardly chilly. At San Bernardino National Forest, on the outskirts of Los Angeles, the Parent Trap crew had begun filming. "All right, next up is the fencing scene." Nancy's voice rang out across the set. Martin. It seemed every director eventually developed a short temper, and Nancy was no exception. The production had already encountered numerous setbacks. First, the cinematographer's accident had delayed things. Then, a last-minute problem with their original location forced them to relocate to this forest. And working with child actors came with its own set of challenges. Directing a bunch of 11-year-olds was no small feat. Laughter, tears, pranks, and even minor crushes were common on set. The one bright spot in the chaos was Martin. True to his word, he was responsible and focused, needing no extra supervision. Even Nancy's biggest worry, his acting ability, had proven unfounded. Martin's natural talent left everyone, including Disney's on-set associate producer, impressed. The producer had even remarked, "This kid's a born actor." "Coming," Martin called, jogging out of his trailer in fencing gear, looking excited and ready for action. Chapter 10. The duel on set. Charles, take control of the other camera. "You know the angle I need." "Got it. I'm on my way." This Charles was Nancy's husband, Martin's uncle, Charles Scher, who was also a director and screenwriter. In the original timeline, it was Nancy and Charles together who completed the script for The Parent Trap. "Hey, Uncle Charles. Hey, little Martin, play this scene well. Your aunt's been a bit on edge lately, so try not to get on her nerves." "Don't worry, I won't give her the chance to yell at me." But before Martin could even finish his sentence, Nancy's voice echoed from the other side. "Charles, Martin, what are you two dawdling about?" Both Martin and Charles instinctively shrank their necks a bit, then exchanged a smile. "Martin, do you need a stunt double?" Nancy asked, eyeing him as he changed into his fencing gear. "Fencing? I've got this," Martin replied confidently. After changing, Martin didn't put on a helmet. In the original film, this scene had been shot using 2 stunt doubles, with both actors wearing helmets. Only in a few close-up shots had the lead actress, Lindsay Lohan, shown her face. But Martin didn't need a helmet. His face was supposed to be visible in this scene, and having the young actor perform his own fencing moves added a little extra flair to the production. Soon, a group of kids had gathered around Martin, the boys and girls cast to play campers in the film. Originally, the summer camp setting was written as a girls' camp, but Martin had modified it to a co-ed environment, so now both boys and girls were watching the scene. The young actors watched Martin standing in the center with a mixture of envy, admiration, and perhaps even a little jealousy. Among them was a 13-year-old girl named Jessica Alba. She looked at Martin with awe. This boy was practically living the life she dreamed of, starring as the lead in a movie, adored by everyone on set, and even managing to get a smile from the typically stern director. But Jessica didn't resent Martin. In fact, she thought he looked incredible. By now, Martin was face to face with his opponent. His opponent was a young athlete, a fencer since childhood, from a family of athletes. He was 2 years older than Martin, though they were of similar height, both sporting brown hair. This boy, named Kiefer Lee, was cast to play Martin's twin brother in the movie. However, right now, he was busy plotting how to make life difficult for the refined-looking boy in front of him. Positioned in front of the main camera, Martin faced Kiefer Lee, with a side angle capturing them both. Kiefer Lee, though, was entirely back to the camera. Action! At Nancy's signal, Martin strode toward his opponent, twirling his fencing sword with a flourish before flicking the helmet from the ground to Kiefer with the sword's tip. A smooth, stylish, and perfectly executed move. Nice! Nancy silently praised him. Put on your helmet, Mike. I wouldn't want to damage that face of yours. It looks just like mine, Martin said proudly, delivering his line. Clearly, Kiefer Lee's role was to keep his face hidden in this scene, sparing the production any post-editing. This was one of the things Kiefer resented about Martin. Why was Martin the lead, while he was merely a faceless double? Why was everyone focused on Martin, leaving him overlooked? Back at school, as a sports star, Kiefer was used to being in the spotlight. Being on set, however, was an abrupt shift, one he wasn't taking well. And why, he wondered, did Jessica Alba always have praise for Martin while completely ignoring him? A few days earlier, Kiefer had decided to put Martin in his place and embarrass him on set. This kid has it coming. As a succubus, Martin was incredibly perceptive of others' emotions and had long picked up on Kiefer's barely hidden malice. But he was unfazed. He had a good idea of what Kiefer intended to do. Smiling to himself, Martin delivered his next line. Ready, Mike? Bring it on, Beck. Kiefer responded, speaking his only line. Nancy's original plan was for the two boys to trade a few simple fencing moves, strike a few poses, and finish the shot. But Kiefer's jealousy changed everything, turning this scene into a moment that would be remembered. Swish! Martin lunged with his sword. According to the choreography, Kiefer was supposed to block, then stumble back. But Kiefer didn't follow the script. He blocked the strike and then immediately countered, thrusting his blade toward Martin's forehead. It was a dangerous move, too close to Martin's eyes, a clear sign that Kiefer lacked restraint and control when his emotions flared. Nancy and Charles's expressions changed in unison. Nancy's face darkened, and she was about to call for a cut, but stopped herself. Martin's performance was keeping her anger in check, and she gestured to the cameraman, "Keep rolling." With an elegant spin, Martin dodged Kiefer's attempted ambush effortlessly. His face still held a relaxed smile, with not a hint of anger, as though he was merely playing with a friend at summer camp. The performance made Nancy mentally cheer for his professionalism. Taken aback by his miss, Kiefer hesitated. He had prided himself on his speed, but Martin had evaded him with ease. Yet he didn't stop. His strikes grew more forceful as he threw himself into the duel, using all his skill. By now, everyone had noticed something was off. The children in the crowd wore various expressions, mostly entertained by the spectacle. These young actors had spent enough time in show business to recognize backstage rivalries. But some, like Jessica, were genuinely appalled by Kiefer's behavior. "That's just wrong," she muttered, a frown on her face. "Why isn't the director stopping him?" Her attention soon shifted back to Martin, though. Despite Kiefer's aggression, Martin maintained his composure, trading blows skillfully, even while holding back. Martin had begun formulating a plan in his mind, subtly guiding Kiefer's movements and positioning until, without his opponent realizing it, they had maneuvered close to a nearby haystack. "Oh no!" Jessica gasped. Martin, retreating from one of Kiefer's aggressive strikes, found his foot caught by the haystack behind him, blocking his escape. Nancy leapt to her feet, silently chastising herself for not calling a halt sooner. If Martin got hurt, how would she ever explain it to Grant? At that very moment, Martin made a move that no one could have anticipated.